Welcome back for a brand new review. This is the review or series review of one of my personal favorite shows of all time, which I just got done rewatching, True Blood. And if I get any copyright stuff on the music I chose in the background, so be it. I wanted gothic music to go with this review, and I chose H.I.M, His Infernal Majesty, from personal favorite album, Venus Doom. First Cyanide Sun, then Passion's Killing Floor, and the final track I chose, Sleepwalking Past Hope. But with that said, the review of True Blood. What is True Blood? Simple. Series originally started in the late 2000s and would go on till the mid 2010s. Original series course from HBO, though I believe it was originally based on a book. Not 100% certain, but wouldn't be surprising. Now, this came out back when, of course, popularity of vampire stuff in media was at an all-time high, thanks to a crappy movie series called Twilight. Now, at first, I was afraid True Blood would be something like Twilight. There was definitely some elements, but luckily ended up being a lot more mature, and I will say this quickly, this is not a family-friendly show. Definitely not. It was done by HBO, it's rated TVMA, 17 and up, for plenty good reasons, needless to say. First of all, you should know about this series. If you can't handle lots of blood, gore, of course, language, or sexuality, nudity, don't watch it. But then again, let's be honest, 90% of HBO shows have these things. Well, not so much the blood and gore aspect, specific shows. True Blood, basically, HBO is a network. I've only watched a handful of shows that I've really thoroughly enjoyed. Up until Game of Thrones, True Blood was my personal favorite show from the network. Now, with that said, True Blood, every season has a specific story arc or including side story. Season 1 is about the main character, Sookie Stackhouse. The actress which plays her also played Rogue in the original X-Men films prior to that. Um, but she ends up meeting this vampire. Sookie has the ability to read people's thoughts in their head. But what attracts her to this vampire returning to his original hometown, located in Louisiana, known as Bolt, uh, Bolton, or however say name the town. Point is, of course, that being William Compton, or also Bill Compton. And throughout the show, of course, come to find out later on, he was investigating things and had suspicion that she wasn't quite full human, was part something else. Now, it wouldn't be until really season 3 and 4 we would learn more about the history, origins of the special abilities that Sookie actually has. We know in the very beginning about the ability to read minds and things like that. But as time would go on, she would also gain in season 2 the ability to shoot basically energy or light out of her hand. And her blood is very attractive to vampires. It smells and tastes more eloquent. She finds out, though, the point is, throughout the series goes on, Sookie finds out that she is an heir to a race known as the Fair, um, which actually are, say it with me, fairies, the Fae. But it's quite interesting as the story goes on. But each season is specific story arcs. Season 1, this with also her best friend, which definitely has issues, that being Tara. Tara's an okay character. She's not one of my personal favorite characters throughout the show. Neither is Suki. I get it, Suki is the main character, but for me, there are other characters, but we would learn in season one also about her brother, Jason Stackhouse, also would become in relationships with different girls, mostly only sexually speaking. And usually they all end up found dead because they had connections to vampires. And there's this mysterious serial killer. But as time goes on at the end of season one, find out who it is, obvious. But there's definitely teases and Easter eggs throughout the season, giving you an idea of who the mysterious murderer is. Then we go on to season two, where we have H.I.M. Also, we meet another vampire in season one that owns a nightclub called Fantasia. But he is the basically this was years also after vampires came out, admitting to the normal public, by the way, and called it coming out of the coffin. Interesting term, and I get it, play on everything. But with that said, everything goes on story arcs, but this character ends up being one of my top 5 favorite characters in the show, and that is the vampire Eric Northman, which is a sheriff for that specific district. But also in season 1, Bill Compton ends up having to make a vampire for a vampire he killed, and it ends up being a girl, Jessica. And the actress who plays Jessica, you might know better today, given she was in the brief 3 seasons of the Netflix series Daredevil. But many things play out here and there throughout the series, and in season 2 they add a lot more complexity and layers to the character of Eric Northman, which is a 1,000-year-old vampire. Also, but things lead to going to Dallas, Texas, and we also see a new enemy, which is the Fellowship of the Sun. Basically, it's a super radical conservative, like Pentecostal type style church. It's very anti-vampire. But yeah, you have characters like Reverend Nolan and his wife, which things get really interesting as the series progresses with the Nolans. But those are key, and then you have in the town while they leave this ancient entity of like Greek mythology comes and basically takes over the town and possesses people and stuff. Basically, some believe she is in some ways referred to in Greek mythology as the god or Greek god of wine, as well as known as the Great Corn One. But she, Marianne, her name, but she's kind of freaky, but an interesting villain. Then we would go to my personal favorite season, season 3, the introduction of a awesome werewolf that I end up really liking throughout the series, AC, which is more of a loner werewolf. And we also get the introduction to King of Mississippi, and he is a 3,000-year-old vampire, which originally, 1,000 years prior, killed Eric's family when he was a human, before he would be turned by, in Season 2, the introduction to his creator, that being a 2,000-year-old vampire. But as things go on, things get interesting, but I absolutely love the main antagonist from Season 3. He is freaking awesome villain. And he makes a reappearance later on. Season 4 of the main antagonist that we would see, things get interesting. We have the introduction that we find out Bill betrays the Queen of Louisiana, and Bill becomes the king of Louisiana. While Suki disappears for A brief time, what felt to her like hours, was in fact like a full year in regular time. Also, we get introduced to an interesting group of, well, not so good characters but through a lot of incest and things, trying to keep the pure line. A weird creature that I have not seen mentioned in any other supernatural show I've watched. That are like werewolves, but they turn to panthers. That are called werepanthers. Alrighty then, and they're never showing any other show other than True Blood, which I find quite interesting. But with that said, then we come to season 5, which we are truly introduced to the leaders of the vampire, the mainstreamers, as it's called, and they call themselves the Authority. And they are followers of what is believed to be the original first vampire, Lilith. Quite interesting, and we see the reintroduction of the great enemy of season 3 returns. And he ends up, of course, also in that time period. Also, we come to find out that Reverend Newland has been converted and become a vampire. It's very interesting. He ends up in a brief relationship with the former king of Mississippi. And we see other things come forward of other villains here and there. And backstabbing go on galore. Also, throughout the series, I will say, I've also come to really like Eric's prodigy, and that is Pam. She is awesome. All her quips and sarcasm, wit, and response back. I love the vampire Pam. Easily in my top 5 favorite characters, along with also a great normal human character I really like throughout the show. Terry is his name. Awesome dude. Also, I want to say I love the character Lafayette. Love that character throughout the series. Pretty much about my top favorite character throughout the series. Lafayette is just a really over the top character throughout the series. You can't help but love. Also, we see other characters that become more important as time goes on. The stories, like what would become the sheriff of the town, Bolton, that being Andy. Also, we would see other characters like awesome characters introduced in season 1. The owner of the bar and restaurant that Suki and Lafayette and all the others pretty much work at. We find out he is a shapeshifter. His name is Sam Merlot. As the series goes on, he wants to find the origins of where he comes from. He meets his original biological mother and his half-brother. Let's just say things don't play out the best, and we have clashing also going on between Sam and a werewolf. And boy, there's a lot of stuff. In the future, I might have to do a more in-depth. This is a very basic review, though, for the series. In season 6, we discover that the new villain, which is the governor of Louisiana, which goes full after everything the True Blood, he has it poisoned to redistribute, because True Blood was supposed to be a replacement for human blood for vampires to not feed on other humans, of course, rather. And it is interesting how things play out, give or take. Things don't turn out the grits, but also in the time at the end of season 5 into season 6, Bill ends up drinking the blood of Lilith, absorbs, and he gains the ability and the immunity to sunlight, and also gains telekinesis and other special abilities. And we learn about the first person or fairy that was turned by Lilith herself. And he, come to find out, has a connection to Suki to basically own her, more or less, as an agreement from like 500 years prior. And we thought the King of Mississippi was old at 3,000. Come to find out, this vampire is over 6,000 years old. And he has mystical powers, too, to travel between dimensions and stuff. We also learn about the ancestor of Sookie and Jason, the fairy godfather, if you want to call him that. Um, it's very interesting when we learn more so about these characters. Now, the vampire, which is actually half fairy, half vampire, called Warlow. Interesting villain. I'm kind of 50-50 on him, though, of villains. He doesn't really hold as much specialty to me. And as time goes on, Tara is another key character because of being best friends with Sookie. She plays a key role throughout the series, and she is definitely a character that has a lot of rough time throughout the show. And she ends up eventually becoming a vampire. She dies at the basically in season 7, at the very beginning of the last season. She ends up dying, and we have this weird stuff going on with her cousin Lafayette, as well as her mom, which, boy, in the beginning of the show and throughout the show, her mom's been a roller coaster, needless to say. Also, for a time there, Lafayette in like season 3 and 4 had a lover, and you might know him because he played the original husband of a certain detective in Lucifer. The actor played as Lucifer refers to as Detective Douche. So if you've seen Lucifer, you know who the actor is I'm talking about. But with that said, throughout the series, it's very interesting, as well as other things. Like, overall, the show is honestly interesting. If you have HBO Max, like I do, I highly recommend give the show a chance. It's a really solid series. I've seen the complete series beginning to end 3 times in full, and I love the show personally. I'll watch it multiple times more in the future. But this is just a little basic synopsis on some of the characters and the season, some of the basic stories going on. But in my opinion, it's a great series. I personally highly recommend. But with that said, stay safe, and on a grain scale, I give True Blood overall a A+. I admit my bias, but with that said, I love the series and will always love it. But leave a comment below and tell me what your thoughts are. Have you seen True Blood? If so, who are some of your personal favorite characters? What's your personal favorite season? For me, it's season 3, hands down. Though I also am kind of partial to season 4 for specific reasons of some of the story arcs, and I like elements of season 5 as well, personally. But with that said, stay safe, and I'll see y'all next time. Same YouTube time, same YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed the H.I.M music in the background, and please don't let me get any major copyright issues. See you soon.